Bound by Fate, written by Whisper Quill. Chapter 1. Sunsville City. The city was awash in the stark light of noon, its streets alive with the interplay of shadows and sunlight. Among the crowd, there was one who stood apart, who moved with a distinct purpose, her eyes keen, observing life beyond the obvious. The camera she cradled was an extension of her very being, capturing fleeting moments with a tender click, a hidden grin here, a quiet conversation there. These were the unnoticed moments that truly captured the essence of the city's heartbeat. This seeker of the candid is Rebecca, seemingly just another face in the crowd. Yet her photographs revealed a world others simply walked past. Each image she took held a piece of a greater story, a quiet hint of the narrative she was slowly piecing together. "I'm just Becca Hastings," she would often say, with a dismissive shrug. An ordinary girl with an ordinary life. She thrived on predictability, living a mundane life free of drama. She had a small, tight-knit circle of friends who understood her aversion to crowds and loud conversations. More of an observer, Becca found solace in the pages of books and the silent company of capturing life and nature. But life, as it often does, had other plans. 3 months ago, her carefully constructed bubble of normalcy burst when her mother forced them to move to Sunsville. Her mother, Elin Hastings, a beautiful, fierce woman, had her reasons for uprooting their lives. Now, here was Becca, in this peculiar city, frozen in time with its quaint streets and old-world charm. The locals seemed to share a secret, a hidden tension threading through the air. "This God-forsaken city," she muttered upon arrival, glaring at the unfamiliar skyline. Newly arrived in Sunsville, Becca Hastings found herself at a crossroads, the unfamiliar cityscape unfolding before her. The air was thick with the scent of change, and the town's enigmatic pulse beckoned her to explore its hidden depths. Each day, as Becca's curiosity blossomed, she felt the gentle push from her mother, urging her to embrace the changes. This was a call to the unknown, a silent challenge to embrace the drastic shifts of her new world and discover her place within its mysterious embrace. Becca sat on the edge of her bed, her face calm, however her thoughts anything but. "I was conflicted, but the move was my mother's wish. This town, it's reshaped me in unexpected ways," she spoke softly, her eyes full of mixed feelings. She let out a sigh, running a hand through her hair. "I've become more reckless, closed off, and even aggressive at times." Her mind wandered back to her life in New Orleans, a place that now seemed so far away. "My life in New Orleans was great, which is why I can't help but feel frustrated sometimes," she continued, her voice tinged with sadness. "I had good friends there, and an average life, and just when I was one step away from scoring a great job, I had to give it all up." Photography had always been her passion, her way of seeing the world. To you, every picture told a story, capturing moments that words couldn't describe. This love for capturing life through her lens had been her escape and joy. Now, Becca is trying to navigate this new place. Sunsville is quiet, but not in a comforting way. There's a strange tension in the air, secrets waiting to be uncovered. The locals look at her with knowing eyes, as if they're in on some secret she isn't. And she can't shake the feeling that her ordinary life is about to get a lot more complicated and challenging. The first day in Sunsville, where Becca moved in pursuit of her mother's happiness above all else. Her mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, hoping that living here was nowhere near permanent. What shall I say to Mom? She sighed internally. I know she notices me, but she is ignoring it on purpose. I did not want to move, so why the heck was it so important? The thought of living here forever made her uncomfortable. Is that how it will be? Her mom's voice interrupted her thoughts. Being swallowed by her deep thoughts made Becca not notice her mother standing beside, with her arms crossed, until she nudged her. Huh? Becca responded, confusion evident in her voice. You okay? Her mom Ellen asked, with a slight frown on her face. Sorry, I zoned out, Becca replied, trying to sound composed. I was getting worried, Ellen continued, her expression returning to usual. Why? Becca asked, genuinely curious. Because you have been quiet all the way here, Ellen explained. Bet she knows the reason why, Becca thought, feeling frustrated. I know you are upset with me, Ellen said with sadness evident in her voice. I am here, aren't I? Becca replied, her tone even. I am sure she will get over it, Ellen thought. But please, Mother, don't think of permanently settling down here. Becca's voice wavered with sadness. Honey? Ellen asked, concerned. Please, Mom, Becca pleaded. We have nothing here. Our home is not here, Becca continued, her voice steady but filled with emotion. For me? You are my home, Ellen replied softly. Becca sighed. I know, Mother, attempting to smile. You are my everything, Ellen said warmly. I need you to work with me here, my dear, she added, her expression turning sad. Fine, Becca muttered. And I have to tell you something, Ellen said. We have to go somewhere. Becca couldn't refrain from asking, where? To the Williams, Ellen continued. And this is not up for debate. We are going. Becca remained bewildered, her mouth gaping. Sorry, honey, but I already said yes. I will be meeting them after years, her mom explained. Wonderful. You go, Becca said. But please, I already told you they're family. There's no way out of this for you, her mom said. But, Becca began. No ifs or buts, her mom interrupted. And you must promise me that you will behave. Becca sighed in defeat. At what time do we have to leave? At 6 in the evening, Ellen answered. Very well then, you should go get some rest, Becca said. Let me help you, her mom offered. No worries, Mom. I can handle it, Becca replied, dismissing her offer. Going, her mom said, smiling gratefully at her daughter. Becca's frustration boiled over. This place is dreadful, she muttered angrily. I wish I knew what was so special about this city that we had to move here. An hour later, Becca had been bustling around, unpacking boxes and arranging furniture in the new house. Exhausted, she finally returned to her room for a moment of respite. Gosh, I need to shower and change, she murmured to herself, a small smile playing on her lips as she looked around the room. This house is not so bad after all, she remarked, surprised. I had no clue Dad even had a property here. Mom knows how to keep a secret or two from me. Her brows furrowed in confusion as she mulled over the thought. I am nervous about the meetup with Dad's side of the family. She exclaimed, frustration bubbling up within her. I had not heard about them until a few days ago. With a sigh, she sank onto her bed, feeling a mix of confusion and apprehension swirling within her. I hope I can contain my awkward self, she thought, the uncertainty evident in her expression. For countless years, Sunsville had been a sanctuary for supernatural beings, particularly werewolves. Beneath its seemingly ordinary facade, this city harbored a hidden world where humans coexisted with creatures of myth and legend. Though humans occupied a small fraction of its population, their presence paled in comparison to the thriving community of werewolves that called Sunsville home. At the heart of the city, two werewolf packs, Silver Dawn and Midnight Pack, had coexisted in harmony for generations. Silver Dawn, the larger and more prominent pack, had established itself as a pillar of strength and leadership within the werewolf community. Led by an alpha of great wisdom and authority, Silver Dawn stood as a beacon of order and tradition. In contrast, the Midnight Pack, while smaller in size, possessed its unique charm and resilience. Under the leadership of James, a steadfast and respected alpha, the Midnight Pack thrived in the shadows, guided by their unwavering loyalty to their pack and their land. Next in command stood James's son, Kris, a promising young werewolf destined to leave his mark on Sunsville's supernatural landscape. But Sunsville held secrets beyond its werewolf inhabitants. Ancient ruins and mysterious symbols were scattered throughout the city, remnants of a time when magic was at its peak. The local folklore spoke of enchanted forests, haunted caves, and a hidden portal to other realms. These whispers of the past added layers of intrigue to Sunsville, making it a place where the line between reality and the supernatural blurred. As the moon rose over Sunsville, its glow revealed the city's mix of human and supernatural life. This place was full of mystery, power, and ancient traditions that had lasted for centuries, creating a unique and fascinating story in the heart of this extraordinary city. A lovely lady named Serena William, also known as the Lady of the House, welcomed them both warmly. Becca met her politely, noting the genuine happiness in her eyes as she saw her. "I am so happy to see you both here," Serena said, her smile radiant. "Me too," Ellen replied, returning the smile. "The last time I saw you, Rebecca was only a year old," Serena remarked, her eyes twinkling with fond memories. Ellen smiled, thinking, "I am glad that I made this decision for my daughter." Serena, with a touch of nostalgia, thought everything changed after that. "You are all grown up, Rebecca." Serena continued, a hint of sadness in her voice. "It's been so long." Becca noticed the sadness and made a mental note to ask her mom about it later. "Yes," Ellen said. Serena continued to lovingly gaze Becca up and down, feeling a bit emotional after meeting so long she couldn't believe her eyes, how much grown she was. Becca's vibrant red hair flows in waves around her shoulders, catching the light perfectly. Her eyes, deep and mysterious as the ocean. They reflect the turmoil of hidden depths, the storms and calm of an ever-changing sea. Her fair complexion is dotted with freckles across her nose, giving her a sun-kissed look. Continuing, Ellen admitted truthfully, "I knew deep down we had to come eventually." "We are family, Ellen," Serena affirmed. "Yes, we are," Ellen agreed warmly, her voice filled with emotion. "In all these years, you all have been much more to me than any family ever could be." "How are James and Kris?" Ellen asked, her tone filled with genuine curiosity. "They are great. They They will be joining us soon, Serena replied. When James heard about your move, he was equally relieved and happy. Becca couldn't help but notice how happy her mom looked seeing Serena. The lady seems sincere, Becca thought. Only a few more people to meet, then we are out of here. This place is pretty huge, just like a mansion. I had no clue they were this rich. Becca's mother and Serena started reminiscing about the old days, but she tuned out their conversation. After so many days, I have seen Mother this happy. I should ask her to visit more often. She seems so relaxed, she thought with a smile. Becca turned her attention to the paintings and pictures on the walls. Without realizing it, she got up from her seat to look more closely. Wow, such beautiful paintings. She mentally took a note. Finally, the door opened, and James William, the man of the house, entered with his son, Kris. James carried an air of authority, his presence commanding the room. Kris, following closely, looked every bit the heir to this legacy. Ellen, it's been too long, James said warmly, stepping forward to embrace Ellen. Indeed, James, it has, Ellen replied, her eyes reflecting a mixture of nostalgia and happiness. Becca, honey, meet James and their son Kris, Becca's mom said, turning to her with a warm smile. Hey, kiddo, James greeted with a broad smile. Becca internally cringed at the nickname, but did not say anything, choosing instead to return the smile politely. Hi, thank you for having us, Becca said, her expression a mix of curiosity and politeness. James's eyes widened in surprise. I can't believe my eyes. You look exactly like... He paused, momentarily stunned. Serena quickly interjected with a slight cough, prompting James to recover. Exactly like your father, James finished, forcing a smile. Thank you, Becca replied, slightly puzzled by the hesitation. Turning to Ellen, James asked, How are you, Ellen? I am doing fine. Ellen responded with a gentle nod. Hi, I'm Kris. Kris introduced himself, his smile warm and genuine. Hey, Kris, I'm Becca, she replied, returning the smile. Finally, I get to meet you both. Aunt Ellen, Mom was so excited ever since you broke the news, Kris said enthusiastically. I am also happy to see my closest friend after so long, Ellen added, her tone filled with sincerity. Welcome back, James exclaimed. Thank you, James, Ellen replied, smiling warmly. Serena watched the interaction with thoughtful eyes. Becca is not much of a talker, she mused silently. So, Becca, do you like the city? James asked, trying to engage her. I don't, Becca blurted out, immediately realizing her mistake. Serena looked taken aback. Huh? James's smile faltered. You do not like it here. At all? Becca felt a wave of embarrassment wash over her. She stammered, mentally berating herself. What the heck are you saying? We just moved, she began, then corrected herself. I mean, I have not gotten a chance to explore the city yet, either. So, Serena's expression softened. Of course. You just moved here. Well, take your time, James said kindly. Sure, Becca agreed, smiling, trying to recover from the awkward moment. In this world, supernatural beings possess a remarkable ability known as the mind link. A telepathic connection enables them to communicate through thoughts alone, transcending the need for spoken words. With a mere focus, they can reach into each other's minds, silently conversing in a way that only they can hear. James initiated the mind link with Kris. Kris? Kris responded promptly through their mental connection. Yes, Father. Can you please take Becca and show her around? James requested. Kris felt a hint of confusion, but replied, Sure. Everything okay? Kris inquired, sensing his father's unusual request. Absolutely, James reassured him with a mental smile. Just make her comfortable. She seems a little reserved sitting among us. Okay, no problem, Kris affirmed before disconnecting from the mind link. After a short while, Kris devised an excuse for asking Becca to show them around. Kris turned to Ellen with a charming smile. Aunt Ellen, if you don't mind, can I excuse Becca for a while? Of course, no problem, she replied graciously. Kris then addressed Becca with a gentle smile. Come with me, please. She hesitated, looking somewhat puzzled. Kris leaned in closer, his smile widening. I want you to meet someone very special. As she pondered, her mom chimed in. You should go with Kris, Becca. Reluctantly, she agreed. Fine. However, her abrupt change surprised her mother. Becca? Sorry. Yes. She corrected herself with a sheepish smile. I'll come with you, she affirmed, hoping to hide her uncertainty. Kris couldn't resist teasing her further. Stop overthinking, kiddo. Don't say that, she retorted, feeling annoyed. Kris chuckled. Ha, I knew it would tick you off. Whatever, she muttered, resigned to his antics. Let's go, Kris said, leading the way. Meanwhile, James and Ellen observed the interaction with amusement. They're already acting like siblings, James remarked. They sure are. Ellen agreed with a smile. Becca and Kris then set off to explore the vast mansion and meet this mysterious person. Serena, glancing around, remarked, Kris must have taken Becca to meet Molly. Intrigued, Ellen inquired, Who is Molly? Serena's response sparked interest. She is Kris's mate. Really? Ellen's tone carried a hint of surprise. Yes, affirmed James. That's wonderful news. Ellen agreed warmly. Serena continued. He found her 2 years ago, and she's a sweet girl, and they are deeply in love, added James. I bet they are. Ellen replied with a smile. Thank you for coming here, Ellen. James expressed his gratitude. I had to. I don't regret it, but... Ellen trailed off with a sigh. Serena chimed in. I am happy to have you back. We were such great friends. But everything... Serena, we said we would not say anything about the past, remember? James gently interjected. Yes, I am sorry, Ellen. Serena apologized, her tone softening. It's okay, Ellen reassured them with a smile. James shifted the conversation. I hope you know Becca belongs here with all of us. What do you think, Ellen? Serena inquired. Maybe you're right. But many years ago, I made a promise I could not break. Ellen confessed sadly. You made the right decision back then. It was crucial for the safety of your family. James acknowledged. Serena expressed her admiration. She is a beautiful woman. I hope when the time comes, she will handle things wisely. Ellen affirmed Serena's sentiment. She will. It will take her time, but I know my daughter. Suddenly, Ellen's tone grew somber. I have become more paranoid after I have started having bad dreams, nightmares. But why? James questioned, sounding concerned. I don't know what, but I sense danger around Becca all the time. I cannot have anything happen to my daughter. I have lost too many people to even count, Ellen confessed, her voice trembling with emotion. Oh, Ellen. Serena expressed sympathy, her eyes welling up with tears. I am not fit to protect her, Serena. Not alone. I am barely holding it together myself, Ellen admitted, her voice cracking with emotion. We are here, James reassured her. You guys are also Becca's family. Please help me keep my baby girl safe, Mom pleaded earnestly. Ellen, don't worry, nothing will happen to her, James promised. You are a mother, and you have been through hell and back. It makes sense to have such nightmares seeing what you have been through all your life, Ellen. Serena offered words of comfort. Having Rebecca is the only best thing that has ever happened to me, which is why I don't have the courage to tell her the truth yet, Ellen revealed, her voice heavy with emotion. Eventually, you have to tell her everything, James advised. I am looking for the right time, James. She doesn't know the truth about our lives. Ellen explained. It's okay. Don't stress it too much. Serena comforted her. Now that you are here, we will be by your side. Serena assured Ellen. That means a lot. Thank you. Ellen expressed her gratitude. Ellen felt like a burden has been lifted after talking to Serena and James about her nightmares. Maybe it was a good idea, after all, to come here and live. In the mystical world of werewolves, the concept of a mate is not merely tradition. It is the cornerstone of their existence. Wondering what a mate bond is? Every werewolf, under the watchful eye of the moon goddess, is destined to find their mate, a soul's perfect counterpart. This bond transcends ordinary love, creating an extraordinary connection that intertwines their very souls. At the age of 18, every werewolf embarks on a sacred quest to find their mate, and upon finding them, they perform the ritual of marking, a symbolic act that solidifies their eternal bond. This ritual establishes a unique mind link, allowing the mates to communicate telepathically, share emotions, endure each other's pain, and sense looming dangers. In every case, the moon goddess grants the right to reject the mate bond, but such a choice comes with grave consequences. Defying a mate bond can lead to sickness, depression, or even death. A stark reminder that resisting fate comes at a high cost. Yet, the moon goddess, in her infinite wisdom and compassion, understands the unpredictable twists and turns of life. Thus, she occasionally blesses werewolves with a second mate, a beacon of hope, offering them a chance at a renewed life. This means that not every rejected mate is doomed to certain death or a gloomy destiny. They may find solace in a new beginning with their second mate, a testament to the moon goddess's benevolence and the enduring resilience of the werewolf spirit. Thus, the search for a mate is not just a journey, but a pivotal rite of passage, a destiny's work that shapes their lives in more profound and unforgettable ways than one can fathom. 3 months had passed since their relocation, yet Becca still found herself grappling with the unsettling emotions that came with it. It has been officially 3 months since we first moved. Now that I am living here, I feel so... Her voice trailed off, weighted with a mix of uncertainty and disillusionment. I never wanted to be here. I've lived in New Orleans all my life, and now it feels like I can't escape. Her sadness was palpable as she continued. When I asked Mom, why here? She said so I can be close to my father somehow, which didn't make much sense. Becca paused, the memory of her father's absence resurfacing. I lost my dad a few years ago to cancer. Carl was a great father. Navigating through the complexities of her newfound reality, Becca expressed her confusion. But never in my life did he ever mention this place, or having a best friend that's been revealed to me as my godfather. It was a lot to take in at first. Becca reflected on her initial encounter with the Williams family, recalling the genuine warmth she had experienced. I got to meet the Williams, she recounted, her thoughts drifting back to that moment. James, my godfather, has a wife and a son who all seemed genuinely happy to see me. Despite her attempts to find solace in her mother's contentment, Becca found herself unable to shake off her concerns. I thought coming here would somehow make Mom happy because... Her voice wavered as she delved into the profound impact of her father's passing. Mom had changed a lot after Dad's death. It's like a storm of grief engulfed her, tearing away the vibrant essence of who she once was. I still remember the agony etched on her face as she stood by Dad's bedside, her heart breaking with each faltering breath he took. She was so hurt, so utterly shattered in those final moments. And in her helplessness, I saw a glimpse of her soul unraveling. Becca laid bare the profound shifts she witnessed in her mother. She became more paranoid and restless. Even when I reassured her that there was nothing to worry about, she wouldn't listen. I tried to help, which is why I agreed to come here in the first place. Beneath her mother's newfound tranquility lay layers of unresolved mysteries. Initially, I mistook her serenity for sadness. While I knew she missed Dad immensely and likely felt lonely, she never explicitly admitted it. Becca's voice trembled with a mix of uncertainty and longing. I sensed these layers around her, like veils shielding secrets she couldn't reveal. It's as if she held the key to a treasure trove of untold stories, yet chose to keep them hidden. And as much as I yearned for her to share, her silence only deepened my suspicions, leaving me to wonder what truths lay buried beneath her enigmatic facade. Becca's heart was heavy as she grappled with the recent tragedy. "I'm afraid I'll never know the whole truth now that she's gone," she murmured, her voice choked with sorrow. "The weight of her loss hangs heavy on my soul, and every passing moment feels like an eternity of longing and regret." In a somber tone, Becca reflected on the tragedy that had befallen her family. 3 weeks ago, on her way home, her mother had a car accident just outside the city. She recounted, her voice heavy with sorrow. It was terrifying. The accident was just awful. And she didn't survive. With a heavy heart, Becca faced the stark reality of living in Sunsville without her mother. Living here, without her, it's like a constant ache, she admitted, her words tinged with grief and resentment. This city, it's becoming suffocating, a constant reminder to me of all that's been lost, she revealed. 40 minutes later, a sudden chime of the doorbell jolted Becca from her slumber. Groggily, she stumbled towards the front door, expecting to find someone waiting on the porch. To her surprise, there was no one in sight. Just as she was about to close the door, her gaze fell upon an envelope lying harmlessly on the welcome mat. Puzzled, she picked it up and retreated inside, her curiosity piqued. With a mixture of hesitation and intrigue, Becca carefully tore open the envelope and withdrew the letter it contained. As her eyes scanned the cryptic message, her brow furrowed in confusion. "There are many lies around you. Unfold one at a time in order to get to the truth, and I will help you get through this," she read aloud, her voice trailing off as she pondered the significance of the words. "A great man once said, 'Truth is rarely pure, but never simple.' Oscar Wilde." Becca's mind whirled with questions, her thoughts fragmented and scattered. Who could have sent this letter, and why? Was it intended for her, or had it been delivered to the wrong address by mistake? "I don't understand any of this," Becca exclaimed, frustration evident in her voice as she raked a hand through her tousled red locks. As realization dawned upon her, Becca's shock was palpable. That day at the cemetery, I got a letter like this, and now... With a sudden surge of urgency, Becca hurried to a room, her heart pounding with anticipation. Retrieving the other letter from its place, she returned to the living room, her breath caught in her throat as she compared the handwriting. "Whoever this is, I'm sure I've seen this writing somewhere," she murmured, her mind racing to make sense of the connection. "Is it from the same person?" Her thoughts drifted back to the day she stood at her mother's grave, the memory haunting her like a ghostly echo of the past. In a solemn moment at the cemetery, Becca stood before her mother's grave, the weight of her emotions heavy in the air. Becca took a deep breath, her voice trembling as she addressed her mother. "I don't know where to start, Mom. There's so much I want to say." Tears welled up in her eyes as she struggled to find the right words. Assuming her mother's presence, Becca's confusion seeped into her tone. "I came here to say that I am very, very mad at you right now." Her voice rose slightly, fueled by anger and grief. With a heavy heart, Becca knelt down, her anguish pouring out in sobs. You left me all alone without teaching me how to live without you. Why? The pain in her voice was palpable as she grappled with her mother's absence. Moments passed as Becca wrestled with her emotions, her cries echoing in the quiet of the cemetery. Eventually, her anger gave way to sorrow as she realized the futility of her anger. I know none of this is your fault, she conceded, her voice choked with tears. Through her grief, Becca expressed her gratitude and love for her mother. Everything I am is because of you, she confessed, a bittersweet smile tugging at her lips. You were my rock, Mom. I can't survive without you. In a tender moment of reminiscence, Becca recalled her mother's endearing nickname. You loved calling me baby girl, didn't you? She mused, a hint of sadness in her voice. It was a reminder that you'd always be there to hold me, protect me, and cherish me. With a heavy heart, Becca poured out her final sentiments to her mother. I love you, Mom, and I miss you with every breath I take. Wherever you are, I hope you are happy with Dad, she whispered, her words carrying a sense of longing and hope. I will see you both someday. Exiting the cemetery, Becca noticed an envelope lodged beneath her windshield wiper, an unexpected intrusion into her day. Becca's brows furrowed in confusion as she retrieved the envelope. Her curiosity piqued. What is this? She mused aloud, scanning the empty road for any sign of the mysterious sender. Opening the envelope revealed a cryptic message scrawled inside. Your life will not be the same now. Embrace the changes that are to come. Becca's confusion only deepened. Who wrote this, and why? She wondered aloud, the oddity of the situation lingering in her mind. Becca sat inside the car, staring at the letter in her hand for a moment, her mind racing with questions. With a sigh, she started the engine and drove back home, the mysterious message lingering in her thoughts. Not long after she got home, her morning was interrupted by Kris's unexpected visit. His serious expression indicated he had something important on his mind. I already told your parents about my decision, Becca began, trying to head off the conversation she knew was coming. Kris's plea for Becca to join them struck a chord, but Becca hesitated, insisting she was fine where she was. I appreciate you asking, Kris, she replied, her tone tinged with sadness. Kris shook his head. I'm not having any of it. Undeterred, Kris pressed on, sensing Becca's reluctance. You can't shut us out, he insisted, his concern evident in his voice. Becca's heart softened at Kris's earnestness, but she couldn't bring herself to accept his offer. I'm not shutting anybody out, she countered, her words tinged with resignation. Kris wouldn't be swayed, gently reminding Becca of their bond as family. You are family, Bex, he affirmed, his words bringing a bittersweet smile to Becca's lips. Seeing the sadness in her eyes, Becca softened her tone. I know you're trying to look out for me. Kris looked at her, his eyes filled with concern. I'm not saying that you can't take care of yourself, but living with us will... It might make it easier for you to grieve, having us all around, you know? Molly is also there, and I will be too. Mom and Dad, you won't feel alone, Bex. He paused, his voice gentle but insistent. You are family. You are like my sister. I don't want you to spend your days and nights alone in this house. Becca couldn't help but smile at his earnestness. Kris always knew how to reach her heart. I am asking you to at least consider it, Bex. She looked at him, feeling the weight of her loneliness and the warmth of his care. I'll think about it, Kris. As Kris embraced her, Becca felt a glimmer of warmth amidst her sorrow. Promise me, yeah? Kris urged, his concern touching her deeply. Becca nodded, her mind swirling with uncertainty and grief. Yeah, okay, she replied softly. The days had been unbearably heavy for Becca. Losing her mother, her last remaining family member, had left a void that seemed impossible to fill. Every corner of the house echoed with memories, each one a reminder of the loss that now defined her existence. The mysterious letters only added to her burden, leaving her with more questions than answers. Despite all of this, today she felt a small glimmer of hope. The loss of her mother had taken a definite toll, but the support from Kris and his family offered a slight reprieve from the overwhelming grief. And with time, she hoped to unravel the mystery behind the letters and discover who might be writing to her. The path ahead was uncertain, but at least she wouldn't have to face it alone.